Or we'll keep that in. I think we did on the shadow reading. It's always a vibe when it's me.
It
and
is.
you. Always a vibe.
All right.
That's why I asked you to do this.
I didn't think of an intro.
So basically, I was talking to some peeps who are kind of helping me, like branding and like growing this, getting the message out, whatever. And they were like, you need to be interviewed. Like, how have you not been interviewed yet? Like, no one knows what you do or like who you are, your story. And I was like, actually, no one knows the full story, like, except for maybe you and a couple OG, like, babes. And I was like, yeah, that's probably a really good point. And, you know, production film, all of the fanciness, I'm like, that's not Babe Cave style. Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't vibe with me. So I'm like, you know, I'll get it done. You know, it'll be low budget iPhone.
Hey.
You know, but that's Babe Cave style. And I said, and I know who I want to do it. So that's when I asked you. I was like, I had been thinking about it for a while. I finally had a little bit of time. So I was like, it's got to be Emily because she was the first one to do a live with me. My very first ever live class, Emily was with me, and it was so good. I still think it's the best class I've ever done because it was just chill and it was fun and it was Babe Cave vibes. We were laughing, you were cracking jokes, like, but also because you've been here with me since the very beginning of the journey, so you're the one who would know the steps that got me here better than anybody. So it just felt like it had to be you. So here we are.
Surprise!
Emily's gonna interview me like I'm a big deal.
You are.
Well, thanks.
All right. I have them written down because.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have the Babe Cave book. We can reveal that later.
Okay. Ooh.
I know. I can't believe I'm gonna do that. I'm actually a little freaked out about revealing that book, but I'm gonna do it.
Alrighty, so the first one is, how old were you when you first figured out you were psychic?
So I was about 6, between 6 and 7, and I had just gone to my first ever funeral. It was for my great grandmother on my mom's side, and she was like Eastern European gypsy, like a little kind of mysterious, witchy in her own right. So went to the funeral, came home. I was in the dining room of my old house. I grew up in like a very old house from the early 1700s. And my dad was like helping me get out of all my winter stuff, you know, coat and all. And she just appeared. My great grandmother was just standing there in the dining room. And I was like, ah! Like freaked out little kid. And I remember my mom and like coming in and stuff like that. And I'm like, your grandma's here. Like, I don't understand, you know, and being weirded out. And my mom didn't react too much to it, like too big, but I later found out that's because like this sort of ran in our bloodline, especially on that side of the family. And it was always kind of encouraged. So, but I knew after that day, and it progressively like would snowball into more and more stuff happening. Like by the time I was 8, I'd already had a lot of visits and stuff at night, and things started to get weird. And there was a ghost of a young boy in the house I grew up in who didn't really bother my brother and I as far as I can remember for the 3 years prior to that we lived in that house. He's 2 years older than me. But then all of a sudden he was like always around. Like he would like squat on top of our entertainment system in the living room because you had to walk past that to like get up the stairs to go to our bedrooms, and the bathroom was like downstairs on the other side of the house. Old house. And like he would like run after us down the hallway and follow us and shit, and like jump off the fucking like media center, like, you know what I mean? And freak us out. So we started going to the bathroom together when we were kids, and we would like haul ass up the hallway, like back up the steps because we knew he was coming. Like he started coming out a whole lot more after that and stuff. It's weird. I don't know. It's like something happened. Well, I have a theory. I had a really bad fall about the same time. I was wearing a long Stevie Nicks skirt because I was obviously always obsessed with her. I was little. It was like my mom's skirt from the 70s. And I went down our old basement steps, like, remember 1700, you know, or a house built in the 1700s. There's gaps like, you know, this between the steps and then just the railing with the opening. Like, no, there's nothing saving you. And I tripped on the skirt and went like through the railing. I bounced off the washing machine. I landed on the like brick floor. The floor was like literally made of brick. And I was out. I think that triggered something.
That knocked a few screws loose.
Something. Yep. I kind of think I went to the other side for a minute and came back, and my gifts had all awakened at once. That's what I think happened.
That makes sense.
Yeah, that's my theory.
There. Yeah. All right. What was it like growing up surrounded by spirits and being an empath? So like, how did that like make you feel? Like,
I think the like medium side of it, seeing spirits and ghosts and stuff like that, was the easier part, believe it or not. Like sometimes it would scare me, don't get me wrong, but as a kid you don't even know enough to know to be super scared yet. Like, or I don't know, I was so young. And sometimes I would just be like, get off my blankets, like I'm sleeping, like, and like just go away. But the empath thing, which I didn't know about at the time and didn't understand, I just know I felt all these things all at once, and I was so unhappy and overwhelmed all of the time, just miserably depressed and sad and for no reason, and I didn't understand it, especially getting more to like 11, 12, 13, like the empath thing, now looking back on it, knowing what I know, was a much bigger deal. And I mean, it had a massive impact on my life and who I was and how I lived and who I, became, but I didn't know that at the time. I just thought there was something wrong with me. Like, it was rough.
It could be rough, all those emotions. And like teenage girls can be mean, so then like feeling their emotions on top of it, like,
yeah, those years were terrible. I was very badly bullied. Like, yeah, it was rough, and I was very isolated. I felt very, very alone.
When did you become an energy healer? Wow, I can't speak. Or first have interest in that?
So my oldest memory related to that was probably elementary school. At the oldest, I would have been like 6th grade, but I'm pretty sure it was more like 5th. I was at a sleepover with some friends that I was very close to. I still hold very like dear today. And we were just like doing like little massages on stuff. You know how like stuff like that you do, whatever. And I put my hands on my friend and said I was healing her. And like it resonated with her too. And she's actually in like a healing field also. And what do you call like an herbal healer? Herbalist, is that
herbalist?
The right word? Yeah. She studied all kinds of cool stuff like in Arizona about healing with plants and all that stuff. But I don't know where it came from, but I just remember always putting my hands on people and being like, I'm healing you. And I didn't know anything about anything then. And then I started studying Reiki in 2007. And then now I'm a Reiki master teacher for like 15 years, I think. I did your Reiki.
You did?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Still working on leveling up, but...
I'm ready when you are. I just wrote the new 5D Reiki.
Did you? Ooh.
I'm actually going to present it at the Reiki Center of America at their annual conference at the New Yorker Hotel, July 27th.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm still blown away about that.
Big things.
I was like, I'm sorry, what?
You want me to what?
No, I called my friend and I was like, yo, I'm Deepak Dani. Why would they ask me? Wild.
This one's a good one, and I feel like a lot of people are asking this one as well. What is dark night of the soul? We reference it a lot. So like, what is like a dark night of the soul?
Good point.
How would you categorize that?
I do. I just kind of throw that out there a lot, and I'll be like, my dark night of the soul, and then I don't ever explain. But so a dark night of the soul can come one of two ways. Some people can have a very prolonged one, like years, or you can have sort of smaller ones throughout life, and then this final boom, which is kind of how it happened for me. It's a period where spirit kind of gets you isolated, what we call like hermit mode, and you're alone for a reason. You have to be to go through it, and pretty much it's like an ego death and a breakdown of everything you were before and everything you thought you knew, and you just are like reduced to ashes because you are meant to be rebuilt in a more stable way, a better way, with a higher vibe, and to like a higher level of consciousness. It just sort of has to happen for you to have your rebirth into, spiritual living, the spiritual awakening. It's kind of like with like addiction treatment, where people always say that you have to hit like your bottom, like your rock bottom, right? And then when there's nothing left, you have no choice but to rebuild. It's kind of the same idea, Phoenix rising. That's why I tattooed that on me. I don't know if you could see that, but I got this after my dark night of the soul. Yeah.
One of the scariest things, but has to happen for us all.
It was rough.
The next one is, what was yours like? What was your dark night of the soul like?
I laid right here. This is the babe cave. It was set up a little bit differently then, but there was this little spot. Don't ask me why. I was next to my bed and not in it. But I laid on the floor. It was the only place I could stand to be. The only thing I could think of was it was like a grounding.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was closer to the earth here because I'm in the basement. So like maybe that's why I wanted the floor. But I think my bed was triggering for me because I had been in like a pretty like a longer relationship for a few years and had someone like living with me, and then the bed was like just me now, like empty. So I don't know if that was like more than I could process at the time. Whatever it was, I laid on the floor for at least 8 weeks. I really couldn't eat, couldn't do much. I didn't go out. People would call and try to check on me. I'd answer if I could. A lot of times I didn't. I know that I was going through a lot of processing and healing, but I didn't know that in the moments. I didn't really know what the hell was going on with me. I felt really out of it and disconnected in a weird way, which is funny because in reality I was more connected than I've ever been to spirit. And I wasn't alone. I had a lot of spirit and angels and star family, we'll call them for now, around me. But it's the most emotional pain I've ever been in my life by far. And I've gone through quite a bit in life. I never knew you could feel pain like that. It was unbearable. Like I almost have PTSD about it in a weird way. Like even thinking about it, it's just like,
don't want to go through that again.
That time in my life was horrible, you know. But then I had some moments. The worst moment, the worst night by far, and this is the one I remember the clearest. I don't remember what happened that triggered it, but I was on the floor. I'm writhing and crying and screaming in pain. It was the worst of it. I bawled and I'm yelling. And I kind of got up on my knees and I'm like yelling up towards this wall and this guy. And I'm like, someone, something, please help me. You know, if you're really there, if angels are real and spirit's really there and I have guides, and I'm calling like my late husband, my late grandmother, like who had just passed away, you know, at the beginning of my dark night of the soul. Like, any of you help me. Like, someone has to help me. I'm gonna die. Like, I'm gonna die from this. And I was just screaming and sobbing. And they did. They came. I remember feeling calm, and I was quiet all of a sudden after sobbing and yelling for a while. I'm still on the floor, but angels came. And I felt calm, and I felt a feeling I've never felt before in my entire life. And I literally felt physically picked up. Like, they lifted me. Like, I do know that I was using a bit of my own weight. I wasn't like floating. Like, I was on my feet, but they got me to my feet. But I knew that someone was like kind of holding me, like, you know, kind of how you support someone if they're, you know, about to faint or drunk or something. And they put me on the bed, laid me on my bed. And I felt like super calm. I felt warm. I saw light all around me. And I looked up at one of them and I said, are you going to heal me? Are you here to heal me? And the angel went like this, just didn't say anything, but went like this, and then did this like on my face. And I went out, passed out.
Is that the off button?
Right? Because it happened again. Remember the different night? But we'll talk about that one too. And I started to get better after that day. It was the beginning of climbing out of my dark night of the soul and rebuilding, you know, from the ground up and from the ashes. But I will never forget it.
Yeah.
I'll never forget it.
Pretty memorable moments. That leads us to the next one of how have your gifts changed from that night? From your first realization of this is my dark night of the soul, how have your gifts changed since then?
They changed a lot. I think you've probably seen more of that than anybody. You know, before I was just a psychic, right? I didn't really work with the living very much. I basically just would have spirits come to me that needed help crossing over, or didn't know they were dead, or, you know, something like that, had unfinished business, and I would cross them over or help in whatever way that I could. I used to write anonymous letters because, like, they would literally want you to go to, like, their, you know, wife's house and be like, Frank said there's a key in the back of the shed and he's got some money in there and, like, he wants you to go check. Like, I'm young, like, I'm not going to strangers' houses and being like,
by the way.
Yeah, like, here's my shotgun, weirdo, like, get the hell out of here, you know. So I would write like anonymous letters if they would give me an address, stuff like that, and like say what needed to be said and mail it, never knowing what would happen, after, and stuff like that,
I would want to know what happened after. Be like, can I get a play-by-play of
Literally.
what happened after you got this letter, please and thank you?
There's a few of them, particularly from when I was like a teenager, that really stick out in my mind that I've never forgotten about, and I always wanted to know like what happened and never followed up. And I'm sure it's too late now. I mean, doubt that person's even living in the same place or maybe passed on themselves. But I wonder if I could channel that.
Maybe.
Duh, full universal knowledge. We're gonna look into that. We'll have to look into
The thing we do all the time.
Duh. Yeah. Can't believe I haven't thought of that before. There was the one day recently, I was looking for something. I'm searching everywhere, like ripping the whole place apart, and I'm like, "You're a psychic, you idiot. Channel and see where it is." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, I can do that." Duh. Like,
I do it all the time too. It's okay.
dumb. But now, I'm actually kept from the dead. Not to say they don't still come through. Sometimes they do, but I remember the first time I saw it. I call them mini angels. They're not like they're not like little people, but like archangels are like big, and they're such a presence and a vibe. They're like 11D, 12D beings, right? But these are like not archangels. They're like just like regular angels. They're like little angels of training or something. I don't know. They look young and they're a little shorter and smaller, but they're cute. And they form this wall, literally, with little swords like this, like in a movie or something. And they all connect and make this wall between me and the dead. And I can see the dead, but it's like looking through a sliding screen, like for like a back door or something. It's like kind of veiled in a way, trying to get to me and talk to me. And when I first saw it, I felt really bad. I'm like, they're reaching out like they need help, and I'm not helping. Like I didn't understand. I'm like, I feel awful about that. Like, I don't like this. But I realize it's because that energy is not good for me to be around too much right now with the job I have to do. Like, it's not my purpose right now. So they kind of keep me from it.
You're here for the living right now.
Now I'm here for the living, exactly. And so now I don't so much do that, but I do a lot of energy healing. I think if I had to describe like who I am and what I am in one word, I probably would still use healer over psychic or anything else. I teach classes, but I think, well, I know because I was told by another spirit that during my dark night of the soul, my main purpose for existing is to assist with the ascension of Earth, whatever that means. The people of Earth, Earth itself, raising the vibration of Earth is my sole purpose now. And that means a lot of things.
Yeah, which goes in. Dude, you're setting these up like to play right into the next thing.
It's like I've done this before. I've never done this before.
So you mentioned ascension and spiritual awakening. We talk about that a lot, and we just kind of throw those words around.
It's so normal for us.
Yeah.
We forget that other people are like not like that.
So those who are kind of like newer to the field, like what would you describe ascension as, and what would you describe a spiritual awakening as, and how is that different from a dark night of the soul?
That's a good question. And all of a sudden, like this past week or two, it's coming up a lot. I'm getting messaged a lot more than I even did in the beginning about it. And people get very confused. Like the one person kept saying, I think I'm going through an ascension. I think I'm going through an ascension. I'm like, you're going through an awakening. We're all going through an ascension.
Yes.
So, a spiritual awakening is when you sort of awaken to the idea, or I like to use the word remembering. I call an awakening a remembering in my classes and stuff. Because you came here knowing who you are, what you're supposed to do, and where you came from. But there is something very traumatic about a soul finding itself in 3D Earth, and literally when you're born, that it's so traumatic, it wipes all of that out, and you forget. You forget your connection. You forget where you're from, why you're here, your purpose for being. I also think that that's why babies cry when they're born. Because they're like, Earth sucks. No.
Why am I here again?
On Earth. God damn it. Man, 80 years here. But some part of you is able to remember at some point. And I believe in divine timing. When the moment is right, when the timing is right for you to awaken, to remember who you are, to start being who you were always meant to be, you start to go through these, awakenings or rememberings. A dark night of the soul is often the beginning of that, the trigger for that. Not everyone has to go through such a traumatic, horrible dark night of the soul. I haven't quite figured out all of the whys yet, or why is someone's really extreme, like mine, and someone else's is bad, it's not a great time, but maybe not as extreme, like they're still able to like work or function, but they're definitely going through it. I don't know why just yet, but usually that's kind of the start of it. And then you will begin to kind of just synchronize with the universe and start to flow. That's when people start seeing like 1111 all the time, 222, 333, right? All of these synchronistic recurrences over and over again. Or, you know, like you'll hear somebody say something and then all of a sudden it's like 4 other people said it this week and you never heard the phrase before. Like stuff like that will start to happen. When those things are happening, it's because you're awakened and you're in sync with the universe. Being awakened means knowing that we all came down from the stars, and that there is a higher vibration, higher levels of consciousness. It's not just us. We're not alone here, right? An ascension is the act like we're in right now. So the earth is being raised from 3D consciousness to 5D consciousness, which should have happened a long time ago. There was actually some debate over whether or not earth was even going to be saved, because it's kind of a mess here.
What? No.
It's not like this anywhere else. Yeah.
A mess on Earth? No way.
We Hot Mess Express on Earth. That's how they refer to us. But we are so low vibrational, and Earth is school. You come here to learn. It's the only reason you come to Earth. So get over it, accept it. That's the truth, okay? You're here to learn. It's just school. But Earth is so like low vibrational, being 3D, there's nowhere else in the universe to go to learn these lessons and go through the shit you go through here. It only happens here.
Yeah.
You know, anger, pain, jealousy, you know, just all of the icky, awful things. And the reason you have to go through them is because it's the only way for your soul, your true self, to continue to grow on the other side where it really matters, right? Where you came from. So Ascension is the process of us raising from 3D consciousness to 5D, which we're pretty deep in at this point. Mm-hmm. Overall living in 4D. And that's why people keep saying shit like the moon looks different or closer, or the sun looks different, or like there's like almost like a veil over it sometimes. Do you know what I'm talking about? How sometimes the sun has this like, the way it glows, it's almost like there's like a light, like a diffuser for like a photographer or something on it. Yeah. Have you noticed that? You know, the planets in alignment, like all of those kinds of things, like it is different. You think it looks different because it does. It is different. You know, solar eclipses, earthquakes in Jersey, like crazy. There was a tornado down the street from my house this weekend that flipped 3 cars in Jersey. Like,
I thought we got bombed when that earthquake happened, because I was in training at work, and literally we heard it, then felt it. I looked at my coworker, I'm like, because we're near a base.
You went by a base.
Yeah, I was like, did we just get bombed? He's like, earthquake. I'm like, what? In Jersey? Like, no way.
It was a wild week anyway, because that was like the week leading up to the solar eclipse, and then we had like the 4/4 portal, like we had like a lot going on at once, like phone and stuff, like a lot was happening at once. So I had already been like up a lot, like not sleeping at night and having a lot of weird stuff happening at night. So I'm in bed in the basement, right? And I mean, I was still asleep. It was like 10:30, but that's because I didn't go to bed till 5 a.m., so don't judge me, which is normal here. That's happened since my dark night of the soul. Since October 2022, I haven't been able to sleep at night. I'm on call at night. But anyway, I wake up from the sound first, because I'm thinking like the furnace or something right down here in the basement's like friggin' about to blow. I don't know. And then the bed is literally like this, like it's hopping, because it's like the one part's not on the carpet. It was like hopping like this. It was moving, and I just remember sitting up and going, "What's happening? What's happening?" Because I figured I'd hear my kids like bugging out upstairs because they weren't in school. They were on like spring break or something. Yeah. So they're home, and I'm like, why is no one else bugging? Like it's only happening to me. So I thought it was some crazy ascension thing, like some spirit thing that was like about to go down.
They're just shaking your bed.
It was flipping wild, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where the hell was I? Oh, I was talking about how things are different.
Yes.
You know, people are feeling and seeing and noticing a change. So you're not wrong. You know, don't be afraid to talk about it. Everybody knows whether they're talking about it or not. Mm-hmm. People are awakening. The masses are awakening now, and this was always meant to happen. So it's going to keep getting weirder. I'm not going to lie.
Just weird's fun.
Yeah, just don't
weird's fun.
We're okay.
All right. What was the most profound experience you've ever had with spirits?
So that angel one was pretty up there. You know, it's maybe tied for first or number 2. But the most profound one, this is the one that really gets me the looks, so I don't ever want to hear anyone say that they can't be their authentic self if I can come out here and say this outright. Was I in bed already? Yes, I was in bed, not sleeping. I think I was like doing a binaural beat and like, you know, connected to higher self or channeling or something or working on healing something. I was, yeah, and I was journaling. And all of a sudden, these beings that were pretty tall, like taller than like a normal human, so maybe like 7 foot, thin, cloaked. But again, I didn't feel scared. Their energy made me calm. I felt peaceful. But they surrounded the bed, like in a circle, basically. The bed was actually here. Yeah, it was here. So they could full, like, horseshoe the bed, right? And I'm just looking at them like, okay. Like,
What are we doing?
Wait, what are you doing here? And again, I wasn't freaked out, but I looked up at one of them. It was just like the angels, and the face was pretty human, very pretty, like attractive beings. Couldn't tell you if it was male or female because gender is a 3D earth thing. We're all masculine and feminine energy. We're all a blend of that. So they tend to look a little bit more androgynous when they come to me. But the figure again didn't quite pet me like the angel did, but just tapped me right here and put me out. I was knocked out. And then I came to, I don't know exactly how long I had been out, but I think it was an hour or two. I'm certain it was at least an hour. Might have been closer to 2. And I like looked up at one of them and then looked up at myself and realized that I had a light beam coming out of my forehead, like my third eye, like long too. And the only thing I could think of was a narwhal. And I just remember being like, I'm a narwhal. Like, what the hell? Yeah, like, why do I look like a freaking narwhal? Like, I'm freaked out, and they could tell. Now they realize I'm up because I'm freaked out. And somebody like scrambles to like put me back out again, like psh, back out. So then literally the next day, my mom, I'd been reading tarot since I'm 14. Let me scale back and tell you that. But I had gotten really deeply back into tarot and oracle, you know, about that time, because I found that spirit was communicating with me that way. It was a way to give me lessons, messages, where what I needed to work on, where I should be, but also things they wanted me to teach to others and get out, whatever. And my mom had called me and she was like, I got you this really cool Pleiadian oracle deck. And I had kept hearing these Pleiadian messages, and I didn't even know what that meant or what that was, like, but I knew that it was significant because of where I was. Like, everything was significant at that time, and a synchronicity and meant to be, you know. So I'm like, I'm gonna come over and pick it up. Like, I'll come over tonight. Like, I was so hyped. So I drive over to my parents' house, probably like 4 o'clock or something on like a Sunday. My dad was there. I think I brought my older daughter with me. Gwyneth was with me, my mom. And we're sitting around their table, and she hands me this oracle deck. It was actually this one. Let me see if I can get it without knocking every other card off the shelves, because that's what I tend to do. Thought this was a good idea. So it's this deck, and obviously I look at the box and the book and the first card, and I'm like,
there's the narwhal.
That's what happens to me. Now my mom doesn't know that yet, or I think I might have told her like that morning or something like that, but she hadn't seen the cards yet, so she didn't know that they looked like this. So I'm opening them up, and I'm like, oh my God, like I'm freaked out. Like she's freaked out. I'm like, this is freaking crazy. So then I opened up the little book that comes with it. Funny enough, staring at us right there. Like, that's so weird that it'd be the first one. But
it's new, you were coming.
Yeah, so this is like the book that comes with it, right? And I open it up to like the very first thing you're supposed to do with this deck. And it said to do it with everybody that's with you. And my entire family, well, I didn't have my entire family with me. I have 3 kids, but my mom, my dad, my 1 daughter, we all picked the same card. And it was the mothership card. I believe. Yeah, it was. Let me see if I can find it really quick. And read the message, and that was the instant moment that I knew exactly what I was, why I'm here, and what happened to me the night before. It was freaking wild. Which one is it? Was it Star Portal, Cosmic Self? Maybe it was this one. I think it was this one. Past regression spread. And like you, so you're supposed to put like 3 cards out and everyone picks one, but it doesn't like say which one they've picked. And then you all like kind of reveal like the one that you chose, and we all chose the same card. It was just so wild. And then like I'm reading the message and I'm like, okay,
Makes sense.
okay,
It's all coming together.
like, you know, at the same time you're like, you understand how crazy it sounds, but once you're awakened, stuff just resonates. Like, you just know. Like when I say it's a knowing, like people ask me like, how do you know? Like when I do like a psychic reading or I channel a message, I'm like, because I know. And you'll know exactly what I mean. Like you know, because you know. You just know. And that's how this was. Like, does it sound crazy? Does it sound way out of this world, like sci-fi movie? Yeah, it does. But I knew that it was true. It just resonated because I was remembering who I was. I was awakening and remembering who I was.
Do you think how, because it was both, they like go at the bridge of your nose where kind of like the metaphorical third eye is?
Yeah.
Do you think that's them saying like, you need a break, let's close that eye for you so you can sleep?
I actually think it's like the decalcification. Like, do you ever
Okay.
hear of that? Like, it's like
Yeah.
a pineal gland, like, you know
They're
what I
taking
mean?
away
Like,
the layer.
yeah, like they're like cleaning it up for you and to get you like more open. That's actually what I think it is. Like, see, this core book is, I don't know if you guys can see this, you probably can't, like all that, I have read this so many times that the pages have ripped out and like it's hard to like keep it in order and stuff like that. Like it's crazy at this point, but I mean, it's because I've used it so much. There's Mothership. Let me see if this is the one. Yeah, as part of the Pleiadian Earth mission alongside many star allies, we're working together behind the scenes for the freedom and liberation of Earth. Although we watch from afar with little interference, we say it is done with great respect as we trust so much in the capacity for the Hues, that's what they call us, it's like muggles.
You muggle.
Muggles is the Hues. To make their own changes and claim their own throne. Our ships often work in groups for the mission, and all of them are in direct connection to the Pleiadian mothership, which hovers midway between your solar system and Alpha Centauri. And then it goes on from there, which I can't read to you because I can't find the effing page where it goes on from there. Oh, it's more like a city, this mothership, right? When this card of mothership arrives, it's your Pleiadian star family acknowledging to you for you to reach out to us. In our quantum reality, there's a high chance that one of your loved ones or even a future version of yourself is present on these ships and is seeking to make contact for your evolutionary growth. Now's an ideal time to start stargazing, which I started doing like crazy, and I was already doing that and didn't even know why. After I went through like this breakup and stuff, I would sit outside till 3 a.m. with the star app, like staring at the stars. I've always loved the stars, don't get me wrong, but I didn't do that all night long, ever. Like I was always busy. I raised 3 babies alone, you know? Meditating, sending out requests to commune with us as we respect the free will of humanity. It's your requests that open doorways for communication to flow, and know that you are being guided. And then right after this, there's like an exercise to do. I did that and I immediately made contact and was communicating with my star family, found out the truth about me and who I am and why I'm here, but you probably have a question about that on there, so I'll be quiet. Otherwise, if not, I'll tell it now.
There's multiple ones.
So I'll shush and let you do your job. This is the Pleiadian Oracle, by the way. If anybody wants to get it, I highly flip and recommend. Like,
it's one of my favorites.
Right? Is it not crazy good? I'm trying to find the name of the author, which is probably on the box, so I could give a shout out. But
sponsor us.
yeah, right. Because the person who created this has other decks too. There we go. Flo Karuna, not the author. So that's who created it. Pleiadian Oracle. So yeah, grab it. Grab your narwhal light.
All I can think of is the YouTube videos like narwhal swimming through the ocean.
That was me, man. That was a narwhal. And I was like, what the hell?
Okay, so let's see. I've heard this one a few times, and I like this one. This is one of my favorite ones. Why are you called the lighthouse?
The lighthouse.
Besides our beam of light coming from
Yeah,
our
not related actually. That's funny. I never made the connection before, but I'm not surprised that you did. So they call me the lighthouse because people find me when they need me. It's kind of the way I was with the dead. Like they, for some reason, can see certain people. Like they see them as a light, and they know to like go to them and how to find them if they need help crossing over or whatever. And this, I guess, like works the same way, but for
people.
this new purpose, but for the living. So now I'm a lighthouse for the living. People find me when they need me. As soon as I got that message, it's amazing how true it was. Like, they said I was on call until like 5 a.m. If it was a slow night, I could go to bed around like 4 or whatever. But that I would always have all the energy I needed, even though I wouldn't really be sleeping much, and they would take care of me, and they always did. And I started getting like Facebook messages and stuff like that from like random people at like 2, 3 in the morning, almost nightly. And it was so cool. I remember being so excited about it. One of those people actually became one of the closest friends I've ever had in my life, and a super important person to me, still is. And they would say stuff like, I have no idea why I messaged you. And I'd be like, that's okay, I do. And I'd be like, tell me what's going on in your life. And then all of a sudden I'd have the whole like treatment plan mapped out for them. I'd be sending them like, guided meditations, or like read this or watch this or whatever it was, like your awakening, and explaining the whole process to them. So there's that side of it. But then I also got a lesson one time that I really, really liked, and I try to remind myself of all the time. And it's that, a lighthouse doesn't run around trying to like rescue ships. Like, hey, I'm a lighthouse. Do you need me? Like, hey, ship. Like, hold up, man. Do you need me? Like, it just stands there being a lighthouse and, does its job. And when ships like need the lighthouse, they have it, right? So they said, you attract, you don't chase. And I'm trying to remember that as a big picture thinking. Like,
you're tequila, not the lime.
Yeah, girl. We better write that down. I don't want to forget it.
You're tequila, not the lime.
Yeah, remember that. You're tequila, not the lime. I love that. Yeah, and that's a lesson for everyone. That's not just for me. That's for all of us.
Yeah.
Like, you're a light being. You're a manifester. You're an awakened soul. You know, or will know, the spiritual laws and how the universe works. You bring things to you. You attract things towards you. You don't chase them. All of you. Remember that. Know your worth.
Mm-hmm. So this one also plays into the Palladians. Are aliens real? And are they here? Besides the little aliens on my hands. But
yeah, did you show those off, by the way? Look at those flippin' nails. How cute. I wish I had them. I know these feel real boring. Yes, aliens are very much real. The ones that are primarily helping with the ascension of Earth right now are from the Pleiades, like the Seven Sisters, right? Arcturus, Sirius, and Andromeda. Oh, and that reminds me. Back in 2007, I started massage school. And my best friend died 2 days before, tragically. We were only 27 years old. Closest soul connection I've ever had in my life, and energy I felt with him, I've never felt with another human being ever to this day. Still looking for that. He just, I think, was such an ascended master that I just felt so different in his presence. But he had died. I started massage school like 2 days or the day after. The week before, my first husband had left, which I was not expecting. We had a 4-month-old and a 18-month-old and a 3-year-old, and he was my high school sweetheart. I'd been with him since I was 14, but whatever, our marriage didn't work. He left, and then a day or two after he left, my grandfather died very unexpectedly, who I was very, very close to. Basically lived with a lot, like on and off in my life, because my grandparents lived around the corner from me, and I had an aunt who was only a few years older than me who lived there, so like we hung out together all the time and like did stuff, so I was very close to him. So it was a really rough time. It was kind of like another dark night of the soul period. It was probably my third dark night of the soul period, but not the big boom.
That you didn't know what it was yet.
Yeah, had no clue. But I had started talking to people from Sirius, and I kind of thought I went crackers. Like, I'm like, okay, everything's finally hit you. I was like 27, single mom, 3 babies under the age of 4, thinking no one's ever gonna date me. Like, at my age, right? Divorced with 3 babies, like I'm gonna be alone forever. It was a weird time. So I'm thinking I just went crackers, Kevin's death, whatever. But I started one of the first blogs. I don't even know if we called them blogs back then. Maybe we did. They might have been. And I would write about it. I wonder if we could still find that on the internet. That would be
probably
so cool if we could.
There's internet footprints. It's there even when you think you deleted it,
right? Yeah. And I know I never took it down or anything. Like, I just got busy being a mom. But yeah, I would document it all, and I would talk to my massage school class about it. If any of my friends, I'm still really close with some of my massage school friends, particularly my very best friend Bob. But if any of you guys remember that, comment or let me know, or call me or text me or something. I would talk about it in class sometimes. And it's wild how many years went by from when that happened to knowing what I am now, why, and like there was all these years where I didn't have contact, not with star family, not with outside like beings, you know. I don't know why. It's weird.
It was like they gave you the glimpse of it.
Yeah.
And it was like not your time yet.
And I had forgotten all about it. Something that happened during all of this triggered the memory, and I was like, oh my God, like that's right. Like I used to get visited by like Syrians, I guess, yeah, Syrians. And they would, you know, talk to me, and now thinking back on it, it was about Ascension. It was about all of this. Like mind blown. Like
all
when I
comes
remembered
full
that.
circle.
Yeah. So and also I don't know if I said it. Did I say Arcturus and Andromeda? Okay. So those are the main ones that are helping assist with Ascension right now. There are plenty here that have been here for a long time, and there are 144,000 just like me, who have a similar job that I had to me, who were sent here to do certain work to help with the ascension of Earth and help raise the vibration of Earth. I was told, this is our first class, that I'm an ancient, not an old soul. I'm an ancient soul.
And this is where I said, you don't look a day over 21.
What's your skincare routine is what you said. I was at least like 2,500 years old, like Earth time, right? Like so my first Earth life or something. And that's when you were like, what's your skincare routine? And I like fell out. That was so funny. I love watching that class. It was so fun. It was such a happy
That's
good vibe.
a good one.
It's a good one. And that I had done work like this before. So I'd come to Earth and helped raise a vibration, raise the vibes, whatever, do some ascension work here before. And that's why I was being asked to come back. And that originally when they asked me, I was like, Earth? Hell to the nah. I ain't going back there. I've done a bunch of lives down there. I put my time in. I ain't going back to that hot mess. I don't want to go through that shit again. And then they were kind of like, well, we sort of need you. Like, you're the one with the experience. We want you, like, sort of take a lead position here. And then being, like, the nice soul that I am, I was like, fine.
I guess.
I'll go. And
get me a Red Bull.
Yeah.
Get me a Red Bull on the way.
Tito's and chocolate, and I'll get through it. Which is pretty much how I have got through it. So, you know, here we are. So that's why I was, you know, asked to come back down or whatever, because I had experience with it and stuff. So I work with these other 143,000 who I don't know. Some I believe are some of y'all, my babes. And some I think I work with when I think I'm sleeping or when I'm traveling, like astrally. And I don't necessarily remember, but I know that I've been working all night. I do have one friend, her name is Karen. She lives in the Poconos, and I call her my commander. Hi, Commander, if you're watching. She was doing spirituality things, like classes and counseling things with me, meditations, stuff like that. And I just remember thinking, why the hell would you want to learn anything from me? Like, you're like my boss where we come from.
Yeah.
Like, you run this mother, right? You know, and like, and I'm so certain that's why I call her Commander. But she and I, it's like, we know when we were working last night, you know, and we're nowhere near each other, right? But like, I'll get a text from her, or I'll text her and be like, what's up? She'll be like, yep. Like, we were working last night. She's like, I know it, you know, and we go and review plans and how are we doing? We'd measure like the frequencies of Earth, which I believe is what she's responsible for. I think she's like, not the person who does the actual work, but she like oversees all the measurements that come back, right?
She sends all the spreadsheets to the
like the
Palladians.
Schumann resonance. Like all like, where's like what are the vibrations like right now? Where's Earth at right now? You know, like what's it vibrating at? Blah blah blah. What does it need? Like, do we need to put a little bit of this in, a little bit of that? Like stuff like that. Like maintaining like a pool or like a nuclear system or something. So I believe that's her big soul purpose here, and we do this work and we don't even know it. And you know, I do that with all of the other 143,000, I believe. That are all down here for the same job. And yeah, there's lots of aliens among you. I, you know, believe I myself originate that way, right? We come down from the stars. Our bones are literally made of stardust. That's a scientific fact. That's a proven fact. Why would your bones be made of stardust if you're of the Earth? Like that doesn't make any sense. Why else would we be made from the same exact material and matter that stars are? Like,
there's, total side note, there's a book called Many Masters, Many Lives.
oh,
And
cool.
it plays into like your past lives and how you have different ties to things.
Okay.
And it talks about this like middle space, like when you die, like your soul goes to like this middle space, and they called it like just a blank waiting room kind of, where then there's the voice that's like, you're not done yet. You need to learn something else. I'll see. I think I have it.
So I have some first-hand experience with that. Right? Like myself, like when I died when I fell down the steps. That time, and another time in my life too that I went there, but we won't talk about that today. But my husband, my husband was in a coma for like 10 days, and the second day, I had left the hospital for the first time in like 48 hours, and I was just running home, which is across the street. The hospital's literally right here, to like let the dogs out, and I was just gonna like clean myself up a little bit because I hadn't left his bedside for a couple of days, and I just wanted to get cleaned up real quick and then get back. But I just remember feeling like I gotta get back. I was so afraid he would pass when I wasn't there, and I cross over souls, and I wanted to make sure he went where he needed to go. So I still had my coat on. I had just let the dogs out back, and my phone rang, and the hospital was like, we need you to get back up here right away and get all the family. He's not going to make it through the night. This is the second time I had already been told that. When I got him to the hospital, they said he had a less than 1% chance of surviving. So now he's in a coma. We run back up there, and there were like 12 people working on him at all times, all night long. I mean, I've never seen anything like it. It was absolutely remarkable. And I say these people worked their ass off and did everything they could possibly do for that man. They did. Like, it was wild. And they'd be following all these levels, and the next thing you know, they'd be like, the kidneys are going, and they'd be pumping full of something for like the kidneys, and then that would trigger something else, and now they're doing something to save that. Like, it was overwhelming, terrifying, but amazing to watch. Just, I was in awe of them and their ability, and it was like a choreographed dance. Like, absolutely amazing. Anyway, I'm segueing. I'm drifting. ADD. Both of us, right? Yeah. Oh, what a combo we picked.
That's why it works.
Hell. I find that that's actually a very common trait in starseeds.
Yeah. I mean, like, our brains are going so fast trying to figure out everything else that's going around us. Why do you think you can stay on one train track?
I can't. I'm just like, brr, 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 brr. Yeah, I don't know. So, sorry. I'm trying here. I'm unmedicated, okay? So, that night was pretty certain he was going to die, and I do believe he did. I believe he died that night. He did stay in a coma for several days after that, and he actually eventually woke up, which is when I say miracle, I mean miracle. No one there in this ICU or anywhere else believed for a minute that he had any shot. He's a miracle. He's passed since, but he came out of that coma. First day, he has no idea who I am. He wakes up, smiled at me, scowled and growled at everyone else in the room, looked back at me, smiled again, and I was like, okay, and said, you're really pretty, or something like that. And I was like, all right, so if he doesn't know who I am, at least I know he still likes me. Like, cool. And then, so I let him go. I didn't want to push, but the next day I was like, do you know who I am? And he was like, you're my nurse, you take care of me. And I was like, mm-mm. It's funny because I was always in scrubs because I was working at Hand and Stone then. So I guess he just, thought I was a nurse. And I was like, mm-mm. But I gave him a little bit more time because I'm like, I don't know how long you're supposed to let this work for. Like, I don't know. I didn't want to like push him. Eventually I tell him who I am. His reaction was the cutest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. He couldn't believe I was his wife. And then the next day I asked him what it was like, what he saw. Did you experience anything? Is there anything like you remember you want to talk about? And he thought about it for a second, and I could tell there was something that he knew very much in the forefront of his mind that was sticking out, and then some other things that he was kind of remembering while he thought about it. And he started to tell me that he was above his body, like sort of floating above the room, and could see himself and me sitting there holding his hand, and that he was with like an angel, and like you said, kind of like a blank space, like a, I picture it like, do you know that scene in Harry Potter where he dies for like a minute and Dumbledore's there, and it looks like King's Cross, but it's all just white and empty? Yeah. That's the visual he sent me. So that's just kind of how I picture it. Almost like this train station on your way to somewhere, but it's not, because there's nothing there but this white
like space. A desolate crossroad, kind of.
Yeah, exactly. And he was arguing with them. I think there was more than one angel because he kept saying them, saying, I have to go back. She's so sad. I can't leave her. I can't leave her like that. She's so sad. I have to go back. I have to go back. And they kept saying, you've been gone for days now. There's absolutely no way to go back. It's way too late. Like, you have to come with us. It's your time. You have to come with us. And my stubborn Russian Gemini kept fighting, saying, no, I'm not. She's too sad. I'm not leaving her. I won't leave her. I won't leave her. And it was a couple of, few days later. And finally, I guess, something popped up, came in to his space and said, I can help you. I overheard.
It's like the random stranger. I got what you need.
Like, and like, to me, I'm like, after school special, bro. Like, you fell for that? Like, come on. We all know that that's like, you're not supposed to get in like the van with the guy who's like, hey kid, I got candy and a puppy. Like, what are you doing? But something popped up that told him they could give him what he wanted. They could bring him back to me so that I wouldn't be so sad. And I believe it was a dark energy, because I don't believe that it was possible for him to come back any other way. And I don't believe he himself ever did come back. I think a piece of him came back, because there were glimpses of him, but I think most of his energy that came back was something else.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had to deal with it when he was here before he died, and things got really scary and ugly and dark here. I had a really dark energy in the house that was doing a lot of dark stuff, which I have filmed. I don't think I've ever shown it to anyone, but I filmed me getting rid of it. You can hear it growling. You can hear it moving, rustling around. You could see the black mass rushing from place to place in the house. So maybe we'll have to think about putting that up too. But yeah, I do believe that space exists, very much so. And it takes time to transition.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like you have to do it in steps, because the shock of going from 3D to like 5D, if you're like, Palladian, which is rising to the higher level of consciousness, everything is, which is why the earth has to raise, because if not, we literally would like lose our like gravitational pull in the universe and like just fall out, and we would just be gone. But yeah, so sorry, segued again. It's too shocking on the body, so the transition to going to like where you came from, when you die, and going back home takes a good amount of time. I think the full transition takes like 3 months.
Yeah.
3 to 5 months is like what I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Other spirits and stuff I've talked to, and watching my grandmother's transition, which is the first one I actually really got to be a part of, full blown. Not just the transition to like life to death. I've seen people die in front of me before, but I saw her 3-month-long like transition when she finally got her legs back and stuff like that. Yeah,
it's a good one.
Yeah.
So my favorite one of this list.
Ooh.
The book, the never before seen book.
I
love the book. I
love
the book.
the book, but it's so sacred. I feel like it's ours. Like it's strange to share it with people who haven't been in the babe cave or weren't part of like the OG coven. Like, my babes are the only people that have ever seen it. But all right, if we're not meant to do it, that's gonna turn off anyway. So let's see what happens. Okay, it's still recording. This is it. Emily, you made me this.
I did.
So I just bought this notebook like online, like literally on like Amazon, and had it sent to the house during my dark night of the soul, because I couldn't leave, but I knew I needed to be like journaling and stuff. Oh, look. You never know what you're gonna find in here, little treasures. And then one day, long into writing into this book, Emily came by with these custom stickers that she had made me that said Babe Cave Coven, and I knew immediately the moment I saw it exactly where it was gonna go. And that's where it went, right on the front of the cover of this book, and it became the Babe Cave Coven like Bible, essentially.
Yeah.
Like, this is our Bible.
That's where the messages began.
Yeah, I didn't know at the time what I was going to be recording or writing about, or why I needed it or whatever. I just knew that I did. And I just like started drawing random things, like weird, like stuff that I didn't know anything about yet. But this is like the first of it, the beginning. Like, I started drawing on the cover first, all kinds of weird things, like 5D, star royalty, like all of these things that I had heard but hadn't pieced together yet. Age of Aquarius, the age of the divine feminine, even shit like this. Like, I can't draw, but it was like I was drawing sacred geometry and I didn't even know it. Like writing light worker, writing starseed, all of these things that I didn't know I even was yet. authentic self. Like these are all little mini lessons, and then these are messages that I was getting, and I would just write them down really quick. You're supposed to help others. The world needs your energy and your messages. Use your voice, share your story. Like random stuff like that. Rise, Phoenix, rise. Like just all this craziness. And then it started with me doing my shadow work. This is about my ex and trying to release the pain and forgive and heal from that. And then
that's where we got the forgiveness lessons from. Was around that time.
That's my favorite page. It's coming up soon. This is from December 29th, 2022. I'm pretty sure I started this book in early December because I think, you know, all of October and November was really just spent on the floor. I wasn't really making any progress yet. But then this is like the first messages that I was getting, like, this is who you are, like, wake up, remember, you know what I mean? Like, stuff like that. You know, how to manifest stuff into your life. We want you to start doing that right away so that I could afford to get to a place where I didn't have to have a full-time job because they needed me to do this full-time. So that's why they had me manifesting, like, right away, like, all these things I wanted to do and just craziness. And then it gets really weird. These are all still just channeled messages. So you can see where it's like my horrible, disgusting penmanship, which has always been bad. The nuns used to hate it in Catholic school. Used to keep me after class. And then all of a sudden, the handwriting is completely different, right? Completely different. And this is the first channeled message I got. So I'm physically writing, but it's not me. It's like automatic writing, right?
Favorite thing to do.
Yeah, it is now.
Yeah.
I really didn't do it much as a psychic before, every now and again, but this is the first lesson I was given, the first thing I was told to teach and give out to everybody, you know, the whole of Earth. And it's the forgiveness lesson. And it's funny, I wrote light codes. I didn't even know what they were yet. That's weird. But the steps to forgiveness, and they said to say this and write it every day, twice a day, until you feel you've truly, fully forgiven. And that this is the key to freeing yourself and unlocking all the potential within you, and always from love. Forgiveness should always come from love and compassion. And then I don't remember even writing this, but I wrote it on this like separate card, and I was like, oh, that belongs here, and I glued it in here. I don't know. But it says, I forgive everyone and everything that has ever hurt or harmed me in this lifetime or any other. And I now since including myself, because that came to me a little bit after, maybe only a day or two after, but when I first started doing this work on myself, my forgiveness work, they were like, that's a hugely important step, the and myself, because when we put ourselves in a position where we get really, really hurt, we tend to lose trust in ourselves, right? We no longer believe or trust ourselves to make good decisions and to not put us into situations where we're going to get hurt like that again. So you have to very much forgive yourself too. And then this one says, getting in touch with your authentic self and listen to your soul. So these were like the steps that, you know, that they were guiding me through, which would become the steps that I would guide my students and clients through after I did my own work. It says, find a quiet place, sit for a few moments, try to quiet your mind, light candles, burn incense, play meditation music, whatever helps you get to a place of quiet contemplation. Call Archangel, I didn't finish, Michael, Metatron, Sandalphon, and Zadkiel. Ask them to be with you and help you forgive those that have hurt you. Have a notebook and pen. Start with yourself. Forgive yourself for not protecting. These claws, man. For not protecting you from harm or situations and people that have hurt you. It's okay, it had to happen so that you could grow and learn from it. That's why you're here. Forgive everyone else that has wronged or hurt you. Write it out, feel it, release it, and forgive. Come from gratitude and recognize that the pain you went through was a gift. A key to unlocking your true self and all of the gifts of the universe. Be compassion and be compassionate. Know that these people are fighting their own demons, wounds, and scars. It was never towards you. They hated themselves. Self-love and self-trust and loving yourself is the key to unlocking abundance. It tells the universe that you are ready to receive all your wealth, gifts, happiness, and good luck, and leads to self-trust, which we need to be able to trust that we can make decisions that won't hurt us in the future. And abundance, by the way, right, is a birthright.
Mm-hmm.
Every one of us here has abundance as a birthright. It's for all of us. We can all have it. It's just a matter of knowing how to attune yourself to the vibration of receiving it. But we can all have it. And then, yeah, lots of random things. And the penmanship changes so many times from all of the different things that channeled through me, beings and spirits and things that would come and write stuff in this book. And it's just wild, the proof of it, to see how different it can all be from one page to the next. Like, this is clearly written by someone different, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like than my sloppy script or even that other, like, penmanship and the whole thing. It's just mind-blowing. But it's completely full now. It's finally completely full, and that's only been within the last week or two.
Really?
I've been saving the last 4 pages all this time. And there's one teeny tiny little space I